Hi, I'm Don. Welcome to my studio. Today we paint NMM. I practiced on the front skirt first of my Stormcast Eternal Bastion, and then when I got a bit more confident, I dived in and painted the Void Dragon. We start with sketching. My video will show you that you don't need an airbrush to create good NMM, and also it's a matter of just painting the sketching at first and then refine and do the glazing much later. I started with dark sea gray, but I think you could start with a medium gray color. I finished the sketching in a little more than an hour, but you could be faster because you don't really need it to be super fine or super nice because you'll be doing a lot of glazing later. The sketching is just basic layering. We're basically blocking where the highlight should be. I'm not even adding glaze medium to make the transition smooth. This is just a guide, sort of a guide, where you need to place the highlights later. You'll notice all throughout the video that I'm kind of drawing reflections and shadows on the surface because this model was sort of a bad example of how to do NMM, because if the Void Dragon was wearing an armor, it would have been a lot easier. Much like my Bastion, the front skirt of my Bastion, it's a matter of painting highlights on edges and creating shadows per panel or per armor part. But for this one, I really had to draw some reflections and shadows because the bare anatomy is a bit too bare. It's now taking shape though. I'm happy where the highlights are falling and the shadows are complementing the highlights. But now we move on to lazy washing. Now we do lazy washing. I mix black ink, equal amount of blue ink, and a bit of thinner. Actually a lot of thinner, because I want this to blend or glaze everything together so that it smoothens out our sketching. I applied the ink wash in 2 thin coats, letting dry in between coats. It basically blurs everything together, and as you can see, we have a nice base already. Now let's paint again the highlights. Now it's a matter of redoing what we did earlier, basically just highlighting the highlights again and then creating nice drawings of the reflections and such so that we have a nice NMM. Now we use the glaze paints. We are using black glaze and white glaze in this video. I really love these paints. As I've said in my other videos, they have the consistency of normal paints. Thus, it's so familiar to paint with them, unlike painting or glazing with really thin down paints. Basically, the white glaze softens our highlights. It creates a nice, like, blurred or foggy white color around the highlights that we painted earlier. So, you never really need to use an airbrush for this. You could create nice and very tiny highlights that are soft using the white glaze paint. The black glaze, you could actually substitute black ink or wash, but again, much like the white glaze, this has the consistency of normal paints and you're painting with very familiar consistency. We're using the black glaze to draw transitions and to smoothen out shadows and add shadows so that we create a more contrasting NMM. Finishing touches. We're not finishing the model today. For this video, it's just a matter of like flip-flopping between painting more highlights with white paint and then softening that white paint or white highlight with white glaze and adding a bit more shadows with the black glaze. So we're basically flip-flopping with these paints to come up with the result that we want. I have yet to add the reflections or OSL from like the powers of the Void Dragon. This will be magenta, not green fluorescent, but I can't add it yet because it will make my video long and I hate editing long videos. That's it. We're done after like around another 3 hours to do the finishing touches and refine our sketching. We kind of sort of finished this model in terms of like doing the NMM. And I hope after watching the video, you kind of realize that you don't need an airbrush to paint tiny highlights or soften the highlights. Well, basically, you don't need an airbrush to paint NMM. And also important to note that the NMM, this was highly inspired from Sergio Calvo's works. That's it, we're done. I hope you liked the video. Do like, comment, subscribe, and consider joining the channel so that you'll be part of our Discord community. Saludos!